Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hello, hello. I am Christian Moe. I'm here with AutoTalk.com, and today we're going to look at this, the 2014 Scion TC Coupe.
While the Scion TC has the same basic shape, for 2014 Toyota has done a lot to visually improve it. You can start here on the side with these nice 18-inch alloys. Again, they're 18 inches, but they're standard on every model. When you get to the front, you can see the car is a lot more aggressive, and Scion has moved a lot of the design touches from the FRS Coupe into this car, starting with this grille. It's black and it's got the same shape as the FRS, and it's flanked on either side by a similar design vertical LED fog lamp. Those fog lamps carry the eye upward, and you get to the nice angular, aggressive, and sharply cut headlamps. You also have this nice lip spoiler on the bottom. Now, moving to the back, the Scion TC is less new, but still interesting. You have this nice black inset on the bottom, and again you have a similar vertical inset for the reflector on the back. Scion has added nice little touches like a carbon fiber Scion badge. And overall, I like the look. We have the optional rear spoiler, and the blue paint just looks stunning. The rear taillight assembly hasn't changed much, but it's always been one of my favorite parts of the TC. I like the square shape, the clear lens, and I really like the circular LED. You also have, of course, your TC badge on the back. Practicality is big with this car. The trunk is really, really big. The rear seats fold down, and it's a lift back, so you have extra space than you would with a normal trunk.
Now, the outside looks great, but the inside is actually a pretty nice place to be. It's a very functional cabin. We're going to start here in the back seats. Now, unlike a lot of cars in this class, the back seats are very, very usable. So this front seat is slid back as far as it will go, and I've got a decent bit of rake here on the seat, so if that person was leaning back, my knees aren't touching yet. The seat bottoms themselves are nice and rounded, so they're sculpted. They're a bit like their own bucket. The backrest sits just so if you want to, you can reach back, and this actually reclines a bit, so you can adjust how you're sitting in the seat. There's a big front sunroof up front, but we also have a tiny sunroof here in the rear. There is a bottle pocket in each door, so you can have a beverage. There's my own speaker. The cloth material I like is nice. Headroom's a little shallow, but aside from that, it's nice back here. You could spend a couple hours if you needed to. Seat belt sits at a nice height. It's not real low, so it's not going to be dragging across your shoulder. I appreciate that. There is a middle seat with its own seat belt, but obviously with the sculpted buckets and everything, this is just a last minute. I can sort of fit somebody in here if I have to, or for a child for a very small amount of time. But if you're not worrying about this seat, if you just treat it as a 4-seat car, you could put friends, you could put adults in this thing. I wouldn't want to spend more than 5 or 6 hours, but you could go on a decent length road trip before you have to start swapping people around in seats to get everybody comfy. So I really like that. I could use with a bit more foot room. There is no center storage. This doesn't fold down to be extra cup holders or storage or anything like that. So I would like to see that. But otherwise, it's nice back here, and I kind of enjoy it. No padding on the armrest, but what you're going to do, it's a cheap car. So let's look at the front. And welcome to the front of the cabin. Some eagle-eyed viewers may realize I'm now wearing a different colored shirt. That's technology's fault. But anyways, let's get on to it. Sitting up here is kind of nice. It's a very driver-focused cabin. So this entire center stack is actually tilted towards me. If you have someone in the passenger seat, they'll actually have a hard time reaching some of the controls and functions because of how sharply it is angled to the driver. But it makes it very nice when you're driving. You can just reach down, adjust the volume, fiddle with things you need. Speaking of volume, this one is equipped with an upgraded stereo. So I've got 3 speakers in each door. This will do AM, FM, Bluetooth streaming. It's got AHA radio built in. Of course, it'll take USB, auxiliary jack. It even has a disc player in the top still, so that's nice. The actual driving position is good. Not only does the seat adjust well, but the steering wheel will tilt and telescope. The steering wheel is kind of nice. It is covered in rubber instead of leather or something, so if you get sweaty, it's a little greasy and gross to hang on to, but otherwise it's fine. It is very nicely shaped. Has thick rim that I enjoy, flat bottom. It's covered in this nice sort of silver painted trim that I like. And actually the whole cabin, I sort of like the way it looks. A lot of it's sort of cheap, gross plastics, but this has a nice texture. It's grained like almost wood or a brushed metal would be. And then there is a dimpled surface that runs through here and across the door panel. So that's a different texture, a different kind of plastic, different color. It looks nice. And then of course we have this silver trim that's on the door and on the steering wheel, and there's some around the air vents. Looks really nice. I would like to say I wish there would be some more storage in here. I've got 2 cup holders, bottle pockets in the door. I've got a little cubby here, and then there's a little cubby up front here where your aux jack is and your 120 power volt. But that's all there is. The door pockets are very small. They'll hold just a bottle or some papers, like nothing else. There is no sunglass holder up top. This cabinet, or this little cubby, is very small as well. So there are some things that make it not as practical as I want to be in the front, but otherwise it's kind of okay. I mean, I've got a very nice level of equipment. It's very nice to look at. It's all put together very well. There's no squeaks, there's no rattles. The seams are all very nice and very tight, so I like that. But actually, let's get around to seeing how this thing drives. All right, so driving the Scion TC. Let's go ahead and start with what makes the thing move. Underneath the hood, we have a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine. It's the same 2.5 liter you'll find in quite a large number of Toyota products. It makes 179 horsepower, 174 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers come a little high in the rev range, so if you really want to feel some speed, you need to wring the car out a little bit. It is front-wheel drive, and the transmission in this one is a 6-speed automatic. It is not a CVT, it is an actual auto. It works pretty well on its own. You just sort of leave it be and the car will shift fairly smoothly. If you stand on the pedal, it'll downshift. Not the quickest on the downshift, but it feels like it's doing multiple gears at once, so that's appreciated. There is a select your own gear mode. You can sort of bang around the gears, but it doesn't work as well as I want it to. And if you get really close to the red line and you try to shift, it wants to shift for you. So like you can't hold it into a gear. I dislike that. I really wish it would let me hold a gear. Otherwise, the transmission's good, the engine's good, fuel economy is very good. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Steering is good, not great. Weighting is good. The precision and the directness of the steering is good. I mean, you turn the wheel and you know exactly where you're going, but there's not a lot of feel through the wheel. The car does a good job of giving you a lot of sensation of the road through the rest of the car. So you get a lot through the seat, you get a lot through the pedals, you just don't get a lot through the wheel. So it's better than some cars in this class, but it's not as good as I want it to be. To be fair, I am very picky about steering, but what are you gonna do? Suspension setup is probably the weakest point of this car. It's the only car I've ever been in that feels nervous at 55 miles an hour on a straight road. So the suspension is stiff, but not in a traditional sports car kind of way. Like suspension in the WRX is obnoxiously stiff, but it doesn't bounce and jitter. This sort of does a bounce and jitter. Now, I don't know if it's actually coming through on the camera, but this is a really straight and smooth road, but the whole time I'm driving, the car just feels like it's bouncing just ever so slightly, almost like it's vibrating. And you get that, like, and just when you make a turn, the whole car just constantly feels like it's bouncing just slightly left and right all the time. Even when you're on the highway just cruising at 65, 70 miles an hour, the car always feels just a little twitchy, just a little touchy. It could be that Toyota wanted this car to feel that way. Again, this is the Scion. It's supposed to be aimed at youths, you know, people who want a sporty experience, and that sort of suspension setup makes the car feel sporty. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Mostly it's annoying, but I do have to say that once you get moving and fling it into a few corners, it sort of works itself out. The stiff suspension does prevent the body from rolling around too much. The 225 series tires are pretty wide, gives you a lot of grip, so you can throw it into a corner a lot faster than you expect before it ever starts to slide. It will understeer. It is a front wheel drive car, but it's not as front heavy as you might expect. It is definitely less front heavy than like my Volkswagen Golf, so that's a good thing. You can throw it into a corner. Ooh, there's people in the middle of the road. You can throw it into a corner. The car will hang on fairly well. We're doing this at about 45. This is, according to the signs, a 25 mile an hour turn. 45 miles an hour, you get just a little squeal out of the front tires and it'll stick and go. So it's, again, better than you would expect, but nothing about it's amazing. I guess that's kind of a hallmark of a lot of Toyota products. You know, they make the best vanilla. So it is practical, comfortable, nice enough to drive. It's not super quick. 0 to 60 times, I've seen 7.5, 8 seconds, somewhere around there in my rough testing. Top speed's about 120 miles an hour. But again, it's more than good for anyone who's getting like their first car, or you're just getting into the idea of owning something that's a bit sportier. You want a coupe instead of a sedan, that sort of thing. So yeah, it could be better, but it's not bad. So let's look at the Scion TC from a more practical point of view. So we already know it has a 179 horsepower 4-cylinder engine, but I'm getting about 29 miles to the gallon out of it. The sticker says you can get 31 on the highway. I have these big, pretty 18-inch alloy wheels, but they are shod in decent rubber that shouldn't be that expensive to replace. Brakes also shouldn't be that expensive to replace, and it's very well equipped. I've got satellite nav, I've got sunroofs, I have a nice spoiler on the back, all those sorts of features that kids want. There's an upgraded stereo in here. It's got 3 speakers in each door and then speakers in the back, so loaded full speakers makes all kinds of noise. The speakers actually sound pretty good. The stereo is pretty decent quality. There is no satellite radio, but that's about the only thing you're missing, and you get all of that for $23,100. So it makes very good sense on the monetary side. It's a fairly practical thing based on the size. It's fairly well equipped. It may not be the best to drive, but overall it seems like a pretty solid bargain. And again, this isn't a car that is going to be bought based on practicality, based on what its fuel economy is. This is a car aimed at young people. So if you're young, you're in high school, or you're at a community college like this one here that I'm at today, stealing their parking lot, thanks PSTCC, then you're interested in some other kinds of features, like, will it do a burnout? Can you do a handbrake turn? Can I act like a hooligan? And let's find out. It may not be the most sophisticated machine on the market, but it's relatively well priced. It's got a great safety record. It's full of equipment, and for that child in your life who you know wants to act like a hooligan, it's perfect. Kids, if you're a hooligan and you want to drive like I did, well, just remember, tell your parents, it's extremely well equipped with navigation, and it's got a 5-star safety rating, and you know, brakes won't be that much to change, tires won't be that much to change. It's only $23,000, which is an incredible price for all the stuff you get. So, parents with hooligan kids with parents, this seems like it might be a good option for you. This is the 2014 Scion TC with the 4-cylinder engine and the 6-speed automatic. I'd rather have a manual, but it's not bad.